We are running slightly, I think, late. So I try to catch up on time so that we can go to the village, which is, I think, one of the most interesting and important part of the program for the day. So if I'm exceeding my time, please let me know and I'll curtail accordingly. So as introduced, I come from Sitara, Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas, which is an independent academic center within IIT Bombay. So first of all, let me acknowledge and thank the hosts, Dr. Akhilesh, Dr. Vinod and Dr. Deepak, who have been taking care of us since yesterday for all the arrangements and for this invitation to discuss about Sitara's experience and Sitara's journey in this field of technology and development, which I will talk about. Of course, I'll acknowledge my research collaborators, colleagues at Sitara and all of you who have gathered here to listen to this. But we started our academic programs only since 2007. So this is a snapshot view of the brief journey of Sitara. So on the right side you see the photo of our first head, Professor Anand, who was a professor in some of these activities, and some basic lab infrastructure workshop was initiated around that time. And then although there was an effort made to begin an academic program, it took a long time for IIT Bombay even to accept and the Senate formally agreed. So I joined Sitara in 2006 as the first faculty appointee in Sitara. So till then we did not have faculty appointments, there were only research scientist positions. And then in 2007 we could convince the institute and we could start the first interdisciplinary program in Sitara, that is called MTech in Technology and Development, which I talk about in a few minutes. And then over the period of time the program has grown, it has stabilized, it has grown, and then we have been also able to get some fellowships to add to the existing pool of students, which is supported by the Ministry of Education, earlier HRD. And then newer initiatives have started in, we are regularly getting some international visitors or interns who want to do some kind of field work or field assessment, and we have been happily hosting them in those initiatives as well. And recently we have started another master's program called MDP, which I'll briefly talk about later. So just to give an idea about Sitara, so all of you know IITs and NITs, these are premium institutes where technology research happens, and it is mostly from an ivory tower, I would say. So most of the research happens in the lab. But the distinguishing feature of center like Sitara is basically the interdisciplinarity in the approach. We believe that no problem is only a mechanical, chemical or electrical engineering problem. And the problem is a problem and we have to find a solution. So whoever needs to join hands, whatever expertise needs to be gathered, that we have to do. And then one of the important aspects of understanding the problem and then tackling the problem is, first of all, detailed need assessment and problem definition. And in that, interacting with the stakeholders, and especially in case of rural areas, it may be the NGOs which are working on the ground, it may be villagers, it may be Gram Panchayat. So that part is very, very critical. So as Professor Date, our founding head, used to say, we try to celebrate development through technology. So technology is only used as a mean. Technology is not an end. Okay, so it is not like we have to enforce technology. So maybe some of the problems will not need technological intervention. So that assessment or that judgment is also very critical, because we always see that some of the problems in the society are actually generated because of wrong way of implementing technology. So we have to be very careful. Although we are from institutes of technology, we have to see what role technology can play in this whole societal development. So that is very important. So our focus has been on the earlier time, it was mainly looking at the regional needs and local resources, and that continues to be there. And a lot of emphasis on experiential learning. So we have to go to the field, we encourage our students also to do that very much. So this is the kind of a backdrop of the context of the country today. So we are kind of following the paradigm of development, which is kind of characterized by what is accepted definition of development globally. Okay, so typically it is synonymous with economic growth. But is it all that we want to achieve? Because currently we see industrialization, urbanization and consumption So these are the three mantras on which our growth paradigm is dependent on. And what it essentially is leading to is only unidirectional flow of resources. So we know that we extract resources from nature, we manufacture things, we advertise and sell them, and we encourage consumers to consume, and then there is the end of life, and then we have to deal with huge piles of waste. So that is what now it is very fashionable. We started talking about circular economy. We want to have more sustainability in all these consumption approaches. But what it has led, especially in the last few decades, is this rapid 5%, 7%, 10%. We want to become 5 trillion economy. But the other aspect of that, or other phase of that, is that there is an increasing disparity between what we call as India, which mostly lives in cities and metros, and Bharat, which lives in the villages. So this gap is widening day by day. Okay? And then only when we go to the villages, we realize how difficult the situation is, where the villages are dying, people are mostly migrating in the off-agriculture season to nearby urban areas. And then there is no way that we can continue in a society like this, where the cities are overburdened. Whatever amount of infrastructure that you create, it is not going to be enough for the cities also, because there is constant influx. I mean, Mumbai city is a prime example. I mean, every day trains of people are added in the city, and then none of the planning of any kind of facilities is going to be enough unless we have our rural area self-sufficient and people can continue to live there. So in all this backdrop, we have to critically look at what is the role of technology. So is technology part of solution or part of problem? So we believe that technology solves all the problems. That is what typically technocrats and researchers in technology believe that. But then we have to consciously look at that. What are the externalities of technology? We have to understand them very clearly. And that's why there is an urgent need to look at and work on the interface between technology and development. Okay? Because currently it is kind of a complete bifurcation. Those who are working in the field of technology, technocrats, they don't understand what are the ground realities and what are the needs. And those who are working in the development sector, they often don't know what technology can offer. Either they feel that technology will solve all the problems, or they don't know anything about capabilities of technology. So we have to bridge this gap and work on this interface. And that's why we offered this specialization called technology and development. And we give a lot of emphasis on that and which connects these two. So this intake specialization that we are offering, it is not technology development. So technology development, all the departments are doing. But what we are trying to do is connect technology with development, which is a very wider concept. And there are so many definitions of what is development. And each of us may have our own notion of what is development. Now it is more fashionable to talk about sustainable development, not just development. But one way to look at it is basically a process where we try to encourage more of freedom to all the individuals. And secondly, it widens the choices people have in terms of where they want to live. So typically there is a drastic difference between what we see is life in the urban areas and rural areas. So in the urban areas, we have plenty of choices in terms of how we want to travel, what we want to eat, what we want to wear. When we go to rural areas, there is no such choice. And you have probably no roads or no transportation, no public transport, and no water supply. So there is very limited kind of avenues that are available. So the whole process of development essentially triggers having a wider menu of choices for people, which also entails empowerment and having more freedom. So what we are trying to do is connect these technology with development to this program, where we hope that we can train young engineers and technocrats to work on this interface between technology and development, to cover some of the coursework. But one of the emphasis is given, as I said, in terms of field exposure and field work. So every theoretical course that we have, it has an associated field with it. So if you are teaching water resources, then there is a visit to the area where some Jal mission or some scheme is being implemented, how it is designed, what are the issues, what are the stakeholders' perspective in terms of. And similarly, energy, agriculture. So every course has a field visit. So that is one of the important part of the integral part of the coursework. And then this is the only MTech program which emphasizes that our students spend 9 weeks in a village. And I'll talk about that more next. And then all our dissertation or MTech, this control courses. I'll explain what I mean by that. So the core courses are basically laying the foundation of this program, and then the field exposure is basically very important to understand the ground reality. So then they also do some electives, because everyone has their background and some pathway that they want to pursue. So to build in some flexibility, they have some electives as well, and then they finally do independent project work. So just to give examples of 4 buckets that I have talked about: perspective, skill courses, and knowledge courses. So we have a course, for example, on development theory. What is exactly, how do we define development? And there have been various intellectual works in terms of to define development itself. And now we always talk about SDGs, but earlier it was MDGs, and there has been some legacy in terms of how to define development as such. Now there are also people who say, rather than that, we should talk about happiness index rather than development index. Okay, HDI was also a very popular concept. So there have been a lot of theories evolving in this. So you have to understand what development means when you are entering into the field of development professionals. And then what is the linkage between technology, society, and development? So there is a dedicated course which was also earlier in the earlier avatar, it was for appropriate technology, but over the period of time the expanse has been made to, and we have transformed the course which talks about more in terms of linkages between technology, society, and development. And then public policy and governance. They should also understand the policy aspects and governance issues in the daily with technology and development. So this is called Master in Development Practice. As I said, it is currently open to those who have a degree, 4-year degree in engineering, technology, planning, or architecture. And then the critical part is they have a field experience of at least 2 years. So apart from that, we also anchor the RUTAC activities at IIT Bombay, as was mentioned earlier. So these are in 7 or 8 different IITs, these cells are there, and IIT Bombay has been engaged since 2010 in this initiative. And then these are some of the examples of some other outreach kind of activities we are engaged in. Of course, center like Sitara is very critical in IIT Bombay. Professor Abhijit was involved in. Recently, we had an institute-wide review of various departments and centers. So, we are critical in the sense whenever there is a question from the parliament, what is IIT doing for the society? So, then all those questions are sent to only one center, that is Sitara. Although there are 750 faculty members, only 10 of us are supposed to answer that what IIT is doing for society. So, it is more or less kind of a CSR unit of IIT Bombay, but we believe that we are not just a service organization. We are academic program, and we do get good students in our PhD and MA program as well. And then, but we.
So sorry to interrupt you. Yes. So 11:30 we are in short time. So
yeah,
just last.
Thank you. So we also encourage activities, and some of our alumni have taken up initiatives mostly in the agricultural, agro-processing, that kind of a space. And just to conclude, I would say there is a need to work on the interface of technology and development, and this is very much relevant to the field that we are doing. It's not just the awareness that you have to work on, but how to make the intervention that is also very, very important. And then opportunities, there are ample opportunities in the academic program. Even the conventional courses that we are teaching in mechanical or civil engineering, we can try to bring in this aspect how the students can do some hands-on activity and get engaged with society. And the new education policy can foster this further. And then working with people, trying to understand the needs is very, very important. So with that, I will conclude. So thank you so much. Sorry if I said
can give to some young faculty who is interested in these things and want to start something in their own institute. And we can't wait for for a group to settle after 15 years or 35 years. We want to do something immediately. And one of Sitara has not focused itself in this direction, and maybe IIT Dhanbad has done something which we'll see next time. And maybe towards the end of the workshop, we should see how we can even tap the undergrads. I mean, this may be a simple thing of how we can motivate them. And advanced courses will be the type that you have developed. Obviously, once more faculty get involved, that will also happen. I hope we'll generate some ideas.
Very valid point, and we are working.
visited for this course especially, for placement.
So
If you have done this course, then we will take you, otherwise we will not take you. You have given very good data, all are placed, 100% placement. Actually, the statistics is IIT Bombay has 100% placement. So whatever course there is, Yahoo, Google, everything will come and they will do. So how many companies have visited only for this course? If you have degree in this course, then only you will get.
So over the years, what I mentioned that we are also not happy that our students go to .coms. Frankly speaking, after 2 years of training in this, if we lose them to finance and some other sectors like Shadi.com, Yahoo.com, that is not they are actually trained for. But then their overall skill set makes them eligible to appear for these. But then what we have started from the last few years, that before the formal placement happens, we hold one event called Development Dialogue. So where we invite all the potential employers in the social sector. So they are both CSRs of various companies and the NGOs which are willing to hire students from our. So every year we hold it in October. So it is before the placement. And then all the students present their background and work, and the companies present their profiles. And if there is any kind of a matchmaking that is happening, then they come formally through our placements. And then that is the mode that we are encouraging, and some of our students have got placed through that mode also. But then currently, as you rightly said, many of these companies are not specifically coming from Sitara, except few agencies like BIOS, for example, or CEW. So there are some think tanks and some of these large organizations which come for Sitara students only. But then many of these companies don't mind looking at Sitara students, especially they are very restrictive about other disciplines and their specialization, but Sitara they are slightly more open because they understand that the Sitara students have that ground experience which is very, very valuable these days. They have those insights, and they are also doing some courses in data analysis which are again catching up very fast. So that helps them to get good placements.
We have to force them to go and contribute to the society, and once you get the training certificate, you have contributed to the society, then only we will allow you to placement. Then they will contribute better.
Yeah, it will require major paradigm shift, but we keep on warning our students when they go to the field for 2 months that they are not there to solve any problem. So they are going as students to understand. Okay, so that approach is very, very critical. We feel that, we are from the Institute of Technology, we can go and give gyan to anybody and we can solve their problem, but that is the other way around. We have to go and understand and learn from them. So it is very, very unreasonable to say that, okay, so we can just send all our students for 2 months in the village and they will solve all the problems of the villages. So that is, I think, it will require a lot of training, lot of preparation for them to go to the field before they are sent to field like that. So I would say that that kind of approach may not be working well because this humility and approach is very, very important. How you go to the field and try to learn from people rather than having this kind of a very arrogant approach that I'm coming from IIT, I know everything and then I'll solve the problem. So that is very, very non-working approach, I would say.
One village and they identify some problem and they will come back and, for example, they have something solution strategy problem. Some of the problems are very common in all the other villages as well. So it's like some identified problem and solution are parallelly implemented in other villages also, is it? Or second thing is like some villages have different problems. So my thing I want to ask, like certain strategies problems are common in other villages. So the students, like other students, they will go for there, or some faculty members try to see that other villages have the same problem, we can implement that strategy there.
So yeah, sometimes it is possible because there are issues which are similar across different domains, or in a cluster of villages it can be replicated. So many times whatever study that they do in the village, it helps the local agency either to form a funding proposal to various agencies to implement the project. Sometimes their work is in the domain of kind of a verification of the impact of what has been the intervention that the NGO is doing, how it has impacted, because it is like a third party which is coming and looking at it. So the work that they do is of various kinds. But it has helped the local agency in variety of ways, both to understand how relevant their interventions are and then how they can design new interventions, understanding the local resources and local aspirations. So sometimes it is, yes, that is the case that we can replicate it in different areas, but many times it is the experience that every village and every context is very, very unique. There are local factors which are more important than very general factors. So some local intervention has to be designed.